How the heck does a kid that started out like this end up doing something like this?
That's where you're wrong. I'll raise you with my mother's soul.
Well, it has a lot to do with immortal vampires, superpowered spirits, and the city of Cairo. That's right, Joe Bros. Today we'll be recapping part 3 of JoJo's bizarre adventure, Stardust Crusaders. Widely considered by many as the best of JoJo's, Stardust Crusaders follows Joseph, Joestar, Jotaro Kujo, and their friends as they travel the world to end a very familiar vampire's reign of terror. Without further ado, let's hop right in. Remember those seamen I mentioned at the end of part 2? Well, they were looking for treasure, and as they snag something out of the water, they think they found it, only for us to see that it's the coffin Dio was in when he snuck onto Jonathan's ship way back when. Yup, I hope you watched the very first video we did on JoJo. Anyway, later we see that after that coffin was opened, the seamen went missing, and I think I know what happened to them. Anyway, we then cut to a woman named Yare Kujo. There are 2 things you should know about Yare. She's married to a Japanese jazz musician, and she's the daughter of Joseph Joestar. What is she doing right now? Oh, she's at a prison, so she can collect her delinquent son, Jotaro Kujo. Long story short, Yare runs to her son, who calls her a bitch and tells her to go away. That's our new JoJo? Damn. Anyway, it turns out the police aren't keeping Jotaro here. He's staying here himself. Why? Because he thinks he's possessed by an evil spirit. Now, I know what you're thinking. Are we sure this is our JoJo? But don't be too quick to judge, because as we see, Jotaro really is possessed by something. And this something brings him snacks and manga in the jail, and even catches a bullet when Jotaro tries to shoot himself. Jotaro! Realizing this has something to do with their family, Yare asks her dad, the one and only Joseph Joestar, for help. So Joseph comes to Japan with a mysterious friend, and Yare takes them to meet Jotaro. At the prison, Joseph asks Jotaro to come out of his cell nicely, and Jotaro basically tells him to piss off, because he's just like that. So Joseph brings his friend in to help. This guy, his name is Abdul. He's from Egypt and he has an evil spirit too. But unlike Jotaro, Abdul can freely control his evil spirit. This spirit has a name too. It's called Magician's Red and it's got firepower. As Abdul uses his powers to subdue Jotaro, Joseph explains just what the hell is going on. Basically, what Jotaro called an evil spirit isn't evil at all. It's actually a manifestation of his will and it's called a stand. As he's yapping about all that, Jotaro gets really mad at Abdul and his stand then comes out in full effect. It tears open his cell and is ready to attack Abdul, who just turns around and sits on the floor. Why? Cause his goal was to get Jotaro out of his cell, and he did that already, didn't he? Yup, Abdul is cool. Later at a restaurant, Joseph gives Yare and Jotaro the rundown about what's happening, and it's all related to Dio. He tells them about Dio's history with Jonathan and him being an evil masochist, something we already know. What we don't know, however, is that Dio stole Jonathan's body and managed to survive in that wretched coffin for 100 years. The man refused to die yet again and is now plotting and scheming somewhere in the world. Joseph then uses his own stand, Hermit Purple, to get a picture of Dio. Basically, his stand acts as vines that can extend over long distances, conduct hormone through them, and take pictures of anyone that has Joestar blood in their veins. In that picture, they can see Jonathan's stolen body attached to Dio. Now, it's up to the 2 JoJos and Abdul to find and stop Dio once and for all. Speaking of Dio, the episode ends with us catching a glimpse of him. He knows he's being watched, but he's not worried. He's already made his move. Bitch man wasted no time getting back to his schemes, huh? Episode 2 kicks off with Jotaro leaving for school, and as with any tall, buff, and handsome young kid, he's surrounded by girls who are obsessed with him. Hell, they even blush when he calls them annoying, even though he's dead serious. Anyway, as he keeps walking, we see another guy who's making a painting of Jotaro. He then slices at Jotaro's leg in the painting, and Jotaro actually gets cut and falls down some stairs. Jotaro's stand manages to prevent major injury, but he knows something is wrong. What he doesn't know is he's about to face Noriaki Kakyoin, his first opponent that's a stand user. But Kakyoin doesn't act hostile. In fact, he gives Jotaro a handkerchief to cover his wound and introduces himself as a new student. Alright, we get a quick shot of Dio saying that he's gonna end the Joestars, classic Dio, before we cut to Joseph and Abdul discussing what they're gonna do. Back at school, Jotaro is getting patched up by the school doctor until he looks at the handkerchief Kakyoin gave him. On it is a death threat, and that's when the doctor starts acting crazy and stabs another student in the eye. Holy crap, it's not her fault though. There's a stand going up her leg and it's controlling her mind. That stand turns out to be Hierophant Green and it belongs to Kakyoin, who was sent by Dio to end Jotaro. Its power is extending its arms, taking control of people and shooting diamond-like projectiles. Jotaro uses his stand to pull Hierophant Green out of the doctor and it looks like he has Kakyoin dead to rights, only for Hierophant Green to unleash an attack that sends Jotaro flying. Basically, if your stand takes any damage, you receive the same damage as well, which is why Jotaro is on his ass right now. Now mad at Kakyoin for taking advantage of the doctor's weakness, Jotaro says that he's going to beat Kakyoin's teeth in. Okay you guys, I changed my mind. Jotaro Kujo is a worthy JoJo. Kakyoin attacks Jotaro again, but his stand completely blocks the attack and grabs Hierophant Green. What follows is the very first instance of Jotaro's classic where he punches the living daylights out of his opponents, and it's glorious. He whoops Kakyoin so badly the entire school is affected. After making sure that the doctor is okay, Jotaro grabs Kakyoin and heads home to ask Joseph what the hell is going on. And after checking up on his mom, because he is a damn coconut who's rough on the outside and soft on the inside, Jotaro brings Kakyoin to Joseph. And Joseph shows why Kakyoin was attacking Jotaro, cause turns out there's a bug inside his head. Wait, what? Episode 3 starts with us finding out exactly what that bug is. A flesh bud made by Dio. Basically, whoever it attaches itself to is under Dio's control. And one more thing, they eventually die when the bug eats their brain. Yeesh. Abdul then tells Jotaro that he met Dio, who tried to pull the same move on him.
Abdul, come here.
But Abdul managed to escape. Joseph says Kakyoin is done for, but Jotaro refuses to give up on him, so Jotaro uses his stand to pull the bud out. Joseph uses Hamon to kill the bug and Kakyoin's life is saved. He asks Jotaro why he risked his life to save him, and Jotaro doesn't give an answer. But we know why he didn't. It's because Jotaro is a sweetie pie. As everything calms down, Holly patches Kakyoin up and he lays down to rest. The next day, Jotaro is about to head off to school, but gets suspicious when Holly doesn't see him off. She always sees him off. Abdul is quickly able to find out the reason behind this. Apparently, Holly has manifested a stand too. Basically, Dio recently got a stand, and since he has Jonathan Joestar's body, everyone with Joestar blood has a stand now. But unlike the rest of them, she's not strong enough to control it. As a result, she's developed a sickness and the stand is slowly killing her from the inside. Joseph absolutely loses it when he sees this, while Jotaro asks what they can do to save her. To save Holly, they have to find and kill Dio to lift his curse from Holly. One problem with that, they have no idea where he is. Joseph can take pictures of anyone that has Joestar blood with his stand Hermit Purple, but whenever he takes a picture of Dio, he's always standing in darkness. So, Jotaro uses his stand to analyze the pictures and sees a fly in it. He then has his stand draw a sketch of that fly and Abdul identifies it as a fly that only exists in the Egyptian city of Aswan. They have about 50 days until Holly succumbs to her stand, and they have to find and finish Dio before that. Kakyoin was hearing this entire conversation and confirms he met Dio in Egypt. He then says he'll join the JoJo's and Abdul. He wants to save Holly too. Aww. So after doctors from Speedwagon Foundation show up to look after Holly, the two JoJo's, Abdul and Kakyoin, set out on their journey to Egypt to find and kill Dio once and for all. But before they leave, Abdul uses tarot cards to name Jotaro's stand. And that's how Star Platinum is born, a stand with insane speed and strength. With that, it's official. The Stardust Crusaders are here. Let's go. Episode 4 starts with Dio talking to an old hag named Enya, who tells him she sent one of her men on the plane the Stardust Crusaders are on, and they won't make it out alive. Damn. We then cut to the Crusaders who notice a weird bug on their plane. This bug turns out to be a stand called the Tower of Grey. The stand user, which just means the user of this particular stand in JoJo talk, uses this insanely fast and powerful bug to commit mass murder and make them look like accidents. The bug attacks Star Platinum and our guy barely manages to survive. And even though it's fast enough to catch a bullet, Star Platinum can't land a single hit on this bug. Seeing this, the Crusaders realize they have to find and stop the stand user. One problem with that, he's somewhere on the plane, and they have no idea who he is. That's when the bug kills a bunch of passengers and writes "massacre" on the wall with their blood. Yeesh. Abdul and Jotaro stands are too destructive to use on the plane, so Kakyoin says he'll take care of it. He attacks the bug, which keeps dodging and even gets a devastating hit on Kakyoin. It moves in for the kill, but that was Kakyoin's plan all along. He corners the bug and rips it apart with Hierophant Green, killing the stand user too. Yup. Kakyoin is badass. Still, Joseph Joestar is on a plane, and that means something bad is gonna happen. Suddenly, the plane tilts, and Joestar goes to see that the pilots are both dead, and the plane is rapidly descending. That's when the Tower of Grey stand user shows up and tells them that he's not the only stand user chasing them. They'll never make it to Egypt alive. With that, he dies for real this time, and Joseph makes an emergency landing in the ocean below. With their nearest land being Hong Kong, the Crusaders head on over there and begin planning their next move. Later, at a restaurant, our boys decide that going by plane would just risk innocent people's lives, so they're gonna go to Egypt by sea. They're about to order some food when a French tourist shows up, asking for help with the menu. Joseph invites him to sit at their table and proceeds to order all sorts of weird
And might as well get some of these. Oh, and this.
Unfamiliar cuisine is the least of their concerns though, because the tourist turns out to be another one of Dio's men. His name is Jean-Pierre Polnareff, and with his sword-wielding stand Silver Chariot, he plans to take down the Crusaders. The next episode opens with Polnareff challenging Abdul to a stand battle, and here's the thing you need to know about Polnareff's stand. It's hella fast. Abdul agrees to the challenge and they head outside to have a fair fight. Abdul starts chucking fire with Magician's Red, but Polnareff's Silver Chariot is so fast that he not only cuts the flames open, but he carves a statue of Magician's Red too. Insane disrespect. Abdul then realizes he's gonna have to pull out the big guns and uses his special move, Crossfire Hurricane, on the French dude. Still, Silver Chariot sends it right back at him, burning Abdul up. But that wasn't Abdul. He used the statue Polnareff carved of him as a distraction, and it worked. Abdul then holds Silver Chariot in place and unleashes another Crossfire Hurricane, cooking Polnareff's French ass. The Crusaders are about to head off, thinking that the French dude is done for, but Polnareff gets right back up and rolls through the air. Seriously? What possessed him to do this? Anyway, he then proceeds to have Silver Chariot remove its armor, making it more vulnerable to attacks, but also unbelievably fast. So fast, in fact, that it makes after images of itself, meaning Abdul can't attack the real one, while he himself gets pieced up. Now, with his back against the wall, Abdul pulls a Naruto and uses a hole in the ground to land a sneak attack on Polnareff, taking him out. But after seeing that he's actually a pretty honorable warrior, Abdul finds one of Dio's flesh buds in his head and has Jotaro pull it out, saving Polnareff. The next day, the Crusaders are about to leave for Egypt by boat when Polnareff shows up. He then explains his goals. Polnareff's poor sister was murdered by a man with 2 right hands, and he's been out for revenge ever since. Damn.
He stole her innocence, and then he killed her.
Dio promised Polnareff he'd help find the culprit if Polnareff joined him, and that's when he hit him with the flesh bud. Classic Dio. Still, after all of this, Polnareff now realizes that the man he's after is most likely working with Dio, and decides that he's gonna switch teams and join the Stardust Crusaders. None of our boys see an issue with it, and so the 5th member of the Crusaders finally joins them in. The next episode opens with the Stardust Crusaders heading to Singapore from Hong Kong on their boat, courtesy of the Speedwagon Foundation, and things are going rather smoothly until one of the crew members catches a stowaway. The kid tries to escape by biting the crew member and jumping in the water, only to be chased by a shark. Jotaro dives after her using Star Platinum to save her until they start being chased by an underwater stand. Kakyoin manages to save them just before they get torn to shreds, and they have a new problem. Who's the stand user? That's when the captain shows up, and I mean, come on. Look at him. That's a JoJo villain if I've ever seen one. Jotaro agrees with me because he uses a trick to expose the captain, who admits to being the stand user of Dark Blue Moon, which is an awesome stand name. It's a scary stand too, too. It has the ability to travel at super fast speeds underwater as well as control barnacles as defense. The captain then grabs a hold of the girl, her name is Anne by the way, and tries jumping in the sea, only for Star Platinum to his face in before he even hits the water. Unfortunately for Jotaro though, Dark Blue Moon isn't going down that easily. The wretched stand infects Star Platinum with barnacles that drain its power before dragging it and Jotaro underwater. There, the captain mocks Jotaro and cuts the propellers of the ship they were on. He then creates a whirlpool, sucking Jotaro in. Kakyoin tries to help, but the whirlpool is too dangerous. If they try entering, they'll die. Meanwhile, the captain and Dark Blue Moon move in to deliver the final blow, but Jotaro uses that exact moment to extend Star Platinum fingers and burst right through Dark Blue Moon's face. The captain curses Jotaro as he sinks to the bottom, and Jotaro makes it back alive. Unfortunately though, things still take a turn for the worse cause the ship they're on starts exploding since the captain rigged it with bombs. Seeing this, our boys quickly get on emergency boats to survive, and survive they do, as the episode ends with a massive ship heading to their rescue. Something's fishy about that boat though, pun definitely intended. The next episode starts with Dio talking to Enya. He basically says that despite having a stand and an immortal vampire body, he's afraid of the Joestar bloodline.
What burdens you, my lord?
The Joestar bloodline.
But Enya tells him not to worry. After all, she sent a lot of stand users to finish them up, back with the Crusaders, and they get on the mysterious ship that just showed up. Polnareff tries keeping a positive mindset, but that's kinda hard to do when there's no one on board. Well, no one except an orangutan, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but there's something fishy about that orangutan. The situation goes from suspicious to horrific when a crane moves on its own and takes out one of the Speedwagon crew members. The Crusaders realize there's a stand at work somewhere. They send Anne and the crew down into the cabin for safety while they investigate the ship. Anne runs into the orangutan again, who is smoking a cigarette and reading a Playboy magazine. Okay. She then heads down to the cabin with the crew members and decides to take a shower. But as she's doing that, we get a glimpse of the crew members. They're all dead. And we see the culprit as he sneaks up on Anne. It's the orangutan. I knew it! But before he can do anything, Jotaro shows up and smacks the monkey back. That's when a fan flies off the roof and attacks Jotaro. The monkey then phases through the wall, all while the rest of the Crusaders get sucked into the ship's floor. That's when it hits them. The orangutan is the stand user and his stand is the ship. Damn, that's new. It manages to pin down Jotaro and Star Platinum and is about to go for Anne. But there's one thing you should know about Jotaro. Our sweetie pie never gives up. So, using a button on his shirt and Star Platinum's power, he manages to break free and attack the orangutan. Yup, that's what I'm talking about. The monkey tries begging for mercy, but Jotaro's not in a forgiving mood, and he... The ship starts disintegrating, so our boys and Anne get off and are waiting to be rescued again. As they make it to Singapore, we see Enya tell Dio there are 6 more stand users the Crusaders will have to face, and one of them is her son, who has 2 right hands. Yup, that's the guy Polnareff is looking for. The episode then ends with a glimpse of Dio's stand. Hate to say it, but our bitchman stand looks kinda cool. The next episode starts with the Crusaders and Anne checking into a hotel in Singapore. Joseph and Abdul share a room, as do Jotaro and Kakyoin, while Polnareff and Anne get their own separate rooms. Polnareff is looking forward to a nice relaxing shower, but immediately senses a presence in his room and calls it out. Seriously? Why do villains choose the most inconvenient places to hide? Anyway, meet Devo the Cursed and his stand the Ebony Devil, though we don't really get to see Devo stand in action, because Polnareff just slices him up and Devo jumps off the balcony. Suddenly though, Polnareff's ankle gets cut and he realizes Devo and his stand are still hiding somewhere. He tells the other Crusaders about this and they agree to meet in Abdul and Joseph's room, only for Polnareff to get strapped to the underside of his bed. Turns out, Ebony Devil is a doll, and after killing the room service guy, it begins slicing up a now completely helpless Polnareff.
You stabbed one of my eyes out when I hadn't even touched you once!
He's a doll? What kind of stand is that?
Yeah, this is bad. While Jotaro and the others meet up in the agreed room, the doll is still piecing up Polnareff. He tries to use Silver Chariot to hit the doll, but keeps missing because he can't see the doll. He keeps going and even breaks the mirror in the room in the process, but he can't stop the little rascal. That's when the doll covers the room in beer. Yup, he plans to burn Polnareff to death. But that's when Polnareff sees the doll in the mirror he broke and manages to break free and stab the doll. After asking some questions, he cuts the doll up into a million pieces, ending his nightmare. I'm sure he's safe to take a shower now. Later, a janitor finds Devo's body in the bathroom, which opens an investigation on Polnareff. But the Speedwagon Foundation clears his name. Where would the Joestars be without Speedwagon? Am I right? Anyway, Joseph and Abdul then decide to get a clue in on Dio's next move, so Joseph uses Hermit Purple on the TV and it gives them a horrifying message. Kakyoin is a traitor. Damn! Episode 9 kicks off with Jotaro, Ann, and Kakyoin heading out to get some snacks when a thief steals Kakyoin's wallet. But instead of getting his wallet back the normal way and scaring off the thief, Kakyoin beats the living shit out of him. In fact, it's so bad that Jotaro has to stop him. Yup, that's when Jotaro starts to get suspicious of Kakyoin. Oh boy. Kakyoin tries to play it off, but Jotaro has his eyes on him. Jotaro then says they're leaving for India by train tomorrow and they have to go buy tickets. So he heads off and Anne follows, but not before she sees Kakyoin eat a beetle? Ew, what the f***? They then get to the cable cars where Kakyoin pushes Jotaro off the ledge. Jotaro saves himself and Kakyoin tries to play it off as a joke. But Jotaro knows something is wrong, so he punches Kakyoin into a cable car and gets on. That's when the imposter changes back to his real form. His stand is called Yellow Temperance and it eats flesh. Since Jotaro punched him, it's on his hands now and it's eating him away. Jeez, this is my nightmare. Jotaro then jumps off the cable car and tries to get rid of the goo on his hand, but no matter what he does, he can't seem to get it off. So he gets back on the cable car and confronts the stand user, who's masquerading as an old lady now. So Jotaro destroys the cable car and falls into the water with the stand user. Since he has to breathe now, he stops focusing on his stand, which gives Jotaro the opportunity to bash his face in. Now cornered, Jotaro makes the guy spill the beans on the other stand users, and he tells Jotaro about Enya's son. Apparently, he's the guy with 2 right hands. His stand is called the Hanged Man and he uses mirrors. When Jotaro gets slightly distracted, the stand user tries to pull a sneak attack using a manhole, only for Jotaro to use it right back and corner him again. And this time, he shows no mercy and destroys him. Later, the Crusaders are on their train to India with the real Kakyoin this time. They all think Anne stayed in Singapore to meet her dad, but she's actually hiding on their train. I don't think this is a safe trip for kids. Episode 10, our first two-parter, starts with the Crusaders making it to Calcutta in India and immediately getting swarmed by the locals. It's a lively city, and these guys are not ready for it. Though Jotaro likes the place, Polnareff is having a hard time adjusting, and when a pig sticks his head out of the toilet he was supposed to use, it only makes things worse. Afterwards, Polnareff is washing his hands when he sees something in the mirror. It's the Hanged Man, the stand of the guy who killed his sister. One problem though, he can see it in the mirror, but when he turns around, it's not behind him. So he has Silver Chariot break the mirror and tries looking for the stand user. But it's no use. There are too many people around. So he decides he's gonna head off alone and look for the guy. Abdul tries to stop him, saying it's a trap, but Polnareff doesn't listen and they get into a fight before Polnareff heads out alone. Yeah, that can't be good. We then see what I can only describe as a cowboy on an elephant dropping off a girl at her home, giving her the classic "I love you but we can't get married" spiel.
Listen, I'm just a no-good drifter, baby. Shh. This is no life for a lady.
Turns out this guy is called Whole Horse, and he is a stand user. His stand? The Emperor, a gun he can materialize at any time and fire. After his playboy shenanigans, Whole Horse meets up with his partner Jay Gale, a man with 2 right hands. They've been sent here by Dio to stop the Crusaders, and their first target is Polnareff. Speaking of Polnareff, he's running around town trying to find Jay Gale, and he's getting nowhere with it. But he doesn't have to look much farther, because trouble has decided to make its way to him. Whole Horse is here and he's ready to fight. Polnareff asks him about the man with 2 hands, and Whole Horse says he'll have to beat him to get to that guy. They both talk trash and start laughing. Stand users are weird. Suddenly though, they both get ready to fight, and Horse shoots at Polnareff with the Emperor. Polnareff thinks he'll just cut the bullet, but the bullet is also part of the Emperor, and Horse makes it move mid-air. Jeez, that's way too cool. The user-friendly bullet then dodges Silver Chariot and is headed right for Polnareff's head, until Abdul saves him. Unfortunately for Abdul though, Hanged Man shows up in the reflection of a puddle and stabs him in the back, all while Horse's bullet circles back to hit Abdul in the head. Just at that moment, Kakyoin shows up, but it's too late. Muhammad Abdul is dead.
I am sick of it. I'm so sick of it. You hear me?
The second part of the episode kicks off with the two Crusaders mourning Abdul's death. However, they don't have much time because Horse and J. Gale are closing in. J. Gale taunts Polnareff, which leads to him attacking the mirror that he's in, but it's no use. His stand, the Hanged Man, exists inside the mirrors and attacks from there, meaning Silver Chariot can't actually harm it. Polnareff looks like he's in trouble until Kakyoin comes to his rescue on a literal truck, grabbing Polnareff and making an escape. Meanwhile, Jotaro and Joseph come across Abdul's body and they are devastated.
Abdul, my old friend.
Polnareff and Kakyoin realize the Hanged Man has made it to their car and Kakyoin has to crash to save them. They get out as the Hanged Man hunts them down in the reflections of all that broken glass. They get away from the wreckage only for the Hanged Man to show up in the reflection in a kid's eye. Jeez. Kakyoin thinks they're done for, but Polnareff has figured it out. Since the Hanged Man jumps from reflection to reflection, Polnareff kicks some dirt in the kid's eye, which makes the Hanged Man jump to Polnareff's eye. Now that the Hanged Man is trapped, Polnareff slices him up and they hear the stand user scream from a nearby town. So they chase the voice and Polnareff finally comes face to face with the murderer of his sister. Unfortunately, this dude is a decoy. The real J. Gale is hiding nearby. He tricks the locals into swarming Polnareff and Kakyoin. Now that they're surrounded, the Hanged Man begins attacking them from the reflection of the locals' eyes. But it's Kakyoin's turn to come up with a plan. He tosses a coin up in the air and throws dirt in the locals' eyes. With their eyes closed, the Hanged Man has nowhere to hide, and he jumps out. And waiting for him outside is Silver Chariot's sword. Now helpless, J. Gale tries to make a run for it, but nothing's gonna stop Polnareff now. He slices and dices J. Gale in the most disrespectful way possible, finally getting the revenge he's been chasing for so long. Let's go! Then, Kakyoin and Polnareff are about to head out when Horse shows up. He's ready to face them in battle until he realizes that J. Gale is dead. As soon as he hears that, he hot-foots it out of there, only to be met with Jotaro's fist. Polnareff gets ready to cut him up too, but that's when the girl Horse was with in the last episode jumps on Polnareff, giving Horse a chance to escape. Polnareff is mad, but Joseph says they can't do anything now and patches up the girl. What Joseph doesn't know is that the girl, whose name is Nina, planted something on his arm, and it does not look friendly. The next episode opens when Anya the Hag, J. Gale's mother, realizes her son is dead, and she starts tweaking. She swears to take revenge on the Crusaders and plans to do so with a stand named the Empress.
They'll regret the day they were born!
Meanwhile, the Crusaders are heading to the holy city of Varanasi and Nena is tagging along with them. But Joseph has a problem. The thing on his arm has started growing. He thinks it's an infection, so he goes to the doctor to get it cut out. Joseph closes his eyes so the doctor can begin, but when he opens them, the doctor is dead. That's when he sees it. The thing on his arm isn't an infection, it's a stand. Okay, new nightmare unlocked. Joseph tries cutting it off, but it's no use. This is the Empress, and it's part of his arm now. That's when the nurse walks in and Joseph gets pinned for the murder of the doctor. The Empress calls out to the police to catch Joseph, meaning the old man is now on the run from the cops. This isn't going too well for him. Meanwhile, Nena is with Polnareff, who's trying to rizz her up. She sees Joseph coming near them, so she distracts Polnareff to keep Joseph on his own. Meanwhile, the Empress keeps growing bigger and it starts beating Joseph up. In a race against time, Joseph runs through the streets of Varanasi to find a barrel of oil. So he dunks his arm and the Empress in it, hoping it'll stop her. But it doesn't, because the Empress bursts out and stabs Joseph in the neck with something. He manages to stop her before she can stick it in deep, but he's running out of time. It looks like she's gonna overpower him and finish him, but this is Joseph Joestar we're talking about. He always has a plan. The empress suddenly gets stuck in place. Turns out the barrel was filled with coal tar, not oil. It hardens and holds her in place, leaving Joseph with the perfect opportunity to use Hermit Purple to tear it apart. And since the stand is dead, its user Nena also explodes, just as Polnareff was about to kiss her. Yikes. Turns out she was just disguised as a beautiful girl and was actually a cold-blooded assassin. Poor Polnareff, that was some rejection. Later, the Crusaders get a van and head out on their journey, but they're being followed. The next episode starts with the Crusaders on their way to the Pakistani border. Polnareff overtakes a car on the way there. Yup, remember this car. And then they see a familiar face trying to hitch a ride. It's Anne. They pick her up when the car from before overtakes them. That car then starts driving like an a-hole, annoying the Crusaders. Then, suddenly, the guy inside motions for Polnareff to overtake him. But when Polnareff does, he's greeted with a truck coming right at them. They crash into it, but Star Platinum manages to save everyone. After all that chaos, our boys are sure of it. The guy in the car is one of the stand users that's after them. Oh, and Anne has a crush on Jotaro. Just thought I'd mention that. While the Crusaders head onwards, the car, which is now in front of them, goes and wrecks a sign showing the way to Pakistan. Now that's suspicious. Later, the Crusaders stop for a drink and see that very car parked near them. They think the stand user is one of the guys in there, so they start roughing them up, only for the car to start and drive away. They start chasing it and it leads them to a dead end. That's when it suddenly appears behind them and pushes them off a cliff. Thankfully though, since Hierophant Green and Star Platinum are goated, they turn the tables. They end up back on the cliff and send the car crashing. Looks like they got him. Except they didn't get him, because that's no ordinary car. That car is a stand. It digs its way back up to the Crusaders, totaling their van, and changes into something straight out of twisted metal. The car then attacks them, drilling holes in Jotaro, Polnareff, and Kakyoin. It starts chasing the Crusaders, so they make it to higher ground, only for the car to start climbing up after them. Well, that's scary as hell. It approaches them and Jotaro is about to attack, until the guy in the car reveals the holes he shot in them are filled with gasoline. He lights Jotaro on fire and it looks like he's toast. Literally, until he breaks out from the ground. Cause, turns out, Jotaro hid underground at the last moment. Jotaro then proceeds to give his patented smashing the car up and sending the stand user flying out. With him taken down, they tie him up in the middle of the desert and steal his car, heading on to Pakistan. The episode then ends with Enya deciding she's going to take care of them herself, with her stand Justice. Spooky. The next episode kicks off with Jotaro having his clothes repaired while Joseph sends Anne back home. She's sad about it but gets to say goodbye to Jotaro before her plane leaves. The Crusaders then make it to Pakistan and travel to a small town hoping to find a hotel. But this town is creepy. There's a thick fog everywhere and the people look scary. Still, Joseph says these are jolly people and tries to find a hotel and is immediately rejected. What's more, Joseph sees cockroaches crawling all over the guy he was talking to, but convinces himself it was just a vision. With Joseph striking out, Polnareff tries his luck, but instead of a hotel, he finds a dead man with a smoking gun. The man's chest is full of holes, but he's not bleeding. Kakyoin tries getting a local woman to call the police and help the dying man, but she just ignores him. Weird at locals. Joseph decides he's seen enough and jumps in the car, saying they should get the hell out of here. But it was an illusion. He's not actually jumping in the car, he's jumping on spikes. He manages to catch himself only to realize the car is parked in a totally different spot. That's when a figure emerges from the shadows. It's Enya, who pretends to be a nice hotel owner and invites the Crusaders in. Oh boy. Enya leads them to her hotel and almost slips up by calling Joseph Mr. Joestar. She manages to convince our boys that Polnareff said it, but Jotaro is still suspicious. Still, they head to the hotel with her where Polnareff gets buddy-buddy with Enya, and Enya acts all nice to him while she's furious inside, cause, well, he kinda killed her son, remember? The Crusaders then go to their rooms and settle in. A little while later, Polnareff decides to head out to the bathroom. Meanwhile, Whole Horse arrives saying he's here to take revenge on the Crusaders for Jay Gale. Enya pretends to believe him and then stabs him. Why? Cause she blames him for abandoning her son and is gonna kill him too. With a hole in his hand, Whole Horse is now at the mercy of Enya's stand, Justice. Basically, her stand invades any injury you have, sucks the blood out of you, and makes you Enya's puppet. Yikes. After turning him into her puppet, Enya makes Whole Horse shoot himself with his own stand and is about to hide the body. But that's when Polnareff shows up looking for the bathroom. Looks like Enya is in trouble. The next episode starts with Polnareff about to walk in on Enya with the body of Whole Horse. So she pretends to fall down, and with Polnareff distracted, she drags Whole Horse's body under the sofa. Polnareff then starts being nice to Enya, rubbing her shoulders and saying she can think of him as her son, which infuriates the old hag. That's when Whole Horse crawls out from under the sofa. Wait, he's alive? Turns out he got rid of his stand at the last moment and survived. Whole Horse tells Polnareff that Enya is gonna kill him. She then tries stabbing Polnareff, but he stops her. That's when Enya pushes Polnareff into a room full of her Justice's puppets, and they start chasing him. And Polnareff totally abandons Whole Horse and makes a run for it, which is fine by me. Polnareff runs from the puppets and hides in a bathroom, thinking he's gonna get caught. When everything gets quiet outside, he peeps through the keyhole and his tongue gets cut by one of the puppets. What in the French kiss was that? Now with the wound, Enya's Justice takes control of his tongue. He's completely at her mercy. But before she kills him, she wants to humiliate him. And she does that by making him lick the disgusting toilet. Okay, this has to be my biggest fear. 'Cause damn. Anyway, that's when Jotaro shows up in the next room and he's still suspicious. Jotaro wants to know where Polnareff is, and Enya says he's in the bathroom hoping to stab him in the back. But Enya slipped up again. She used Jotaro's name when he never said it in front of her.
I know exactly where he is, Mr. Jotaro.
How did you know my name is Jotaro? I never told you my name.
This time, Jotaro doesn't let it slide and easily dodges her attack. She brings her puppets in and Star Platinum begins rocking them all, until one of them manages to wound Jotaro's leg. Oh no. Enya laughs, saying Jotaro is doomed, but Jotaro doesn't even flinch. Since Enya's stand is made up of fog, Jotaro comes up with a brilliant plan. He has Star Platinum suck it in. As Star Platinum holds its breath, Enya can't breathe, and even though she's mad as hell, she can't do anything about it. Just like that, she passes out, and the Crusaders see that the place they're in is actually a graveyard. The rest of the Crusaders catch up, and they decide they're gonna use Enya to get info on Dio, until Whole Horse steals their car and makes off with it. Something tells me we'll be seeing that rascal again. In episode 16, our boys make their way to the city of Karachi, the hub of Pakistan. After Joseph gets scammed over some shawarmas, Enya suddenly freezes in horror when she sees the owner of the shop. Turns out he's a stand user named Steely Dan, and he's here to make sure Enya doesn't rat out Dio. Joseph tries to get some info on Dio before Enya bites the dust, but the old hag is loyal to Dio till the very end, and dies without saying a word. Steely Dan, meanwhile, is enjoying some coffee, and Jotaro doesn't like that, so he has Star Platinum sock him. Steely Dan goes flying, but so does Joseph. Turns out, Steely Dan's stand is called the Lovers, and it's an evil one. It goes inside your brain and makes you feel whatever pain is inflicted on Steely Dan, except 10 times worse. It also took one of Dio's flesh buds inside Joseph's brain.
I might get banged up some, but your body would suffer far greater pain than mine.
So, not only can the Crusaders not attack Steely Dan, but they have to remove the bud before Joseph's brain gets eaten up. What a dastardly stand that is. After Steely Dan says Joseph only has 10 minutes to live, Jotaro really wants to punch his teeth in, but he can't. It'd kill his own grandpa. Seeing no other choice, Joseph, Kakyoin, and Polnareff make a run for it, telling Jotaro to keep Steely Dan occupied. They run to a TV store where Joseph uses Hermit Purple to get an image of the lovers inside his brain. So, Kakyoin and Polnareff shrink their stands and send them inside Joseph's head so they can save his life. While that's happening, Steely Dan has literally turned Jotaro into his slave. With the threat of his grandpa's life, Jotaro has to do whatever Dan says, including acting as a human bridge for him. Now that's just disrespectful. The episode then ends with Silver Chariot and Hierophant Green going deeper into Joseph's brain, while Dan still has Jotaro on a leash. The next episode picks up right there as Silver Chariot and Hierophant Green make it to Dan's stand, the lover, inside Joseph's brain. There, Chariot slices it up, or at least he thinks he does. In reality, it was just a duplicate. The real lovers then attacks Chariot, making Polnareff spit blood. Back with Jotaro, he's shining Dan's shoes and getting kicked in the face, completely helpless. But Jotaro hasn't lost hope. In fact, he's writing down everything Dan is doing so he can take revenge later.
You're looking at your tab, and you're gonna pay in full. I wrote it down so I won't forget.
That's the Jotaro I know. Back with the others, and it's not going too smoothly. The stand's Silver Chariot cut up multiples and it begins attacking. Hierophant and Chariot keep destroying the extra pieces, but they keep multiplying. The real one is hidden somewhere, and unless they kill it, the fakes will keep multiplying. Meanwhile, Dan has Jotaro steal a gold bracelet before immediately framing him for it. Okay, I officially hate this guy. Anyway, the shopkeepers start beating the shit out of Jotaro and toss him onto the street when they're done. Steely Dan is loving all of this. Joseph will be dead shortly and Jotaro can't do anything about it. At least that's what he thinks. Because right then, Kakyoin uses his smarts to find the real lovers and gets a serious hit in, making Dan's forehead start gushing with blood. The lovers then make a run for it back to Dan and Joseph destroys the butt in his head with Hamon. Thank God, he's been saved. Saved by his best buds. Anyway, Dan realizes he's done for and starts begging Jotaro for mercy, even licking his boots.
I'm begging you to spare my life! Lick.
What a loser. It's all a ploy though, he just wants to buy time to get lovers inside Jotaro's brain. That plan fails miserably though because Star Platinum catches it before it can get inside Jotaro, and Dan starts begging again. Jotaro lets him go and Dan immediately tries taking a girl hostage. That plan also fails because Kakyoin tied Hierophant Green to a stand and it stops it from getting inside the girl's brain. With that, Jotaro has Star Platinum punch the living hell out of Dan, sending him flying through a wall. He's not recovering from that anytime soon. The next episode starts with the Crusaders making it to the UAE, where they buy an expensive car instead of an off-roader. Polnareff thinks that's an odd choice, but Joseph explains why. They're gonna trade the car for camels, travel the desert, and buy a plane that will fly Joseph over Saudi Arabia. Yup, fun times are incoming, because Joseph will be on a plane. Again. After they get on their camels, they head out, but after a while, Kakyoin feels something is off, and Jotaro agrees. So they look at the time, and it's 8 p.m.? Not only is the sun not setting at what should be nighttime, but it's rising even higher in the west. That's when it hits them. The sun is a stand. What the actual Our boys then immediately hide behind a rock as the temperature begins rising. Kakyoin tries attacking, but the sun shoots lava at Hierophant Green, injuring him. So Jotaro digs a hole in the ground and the Crusaders all hide inside. Joseph tries sneaking a peek with his binoculars, but they're immediately shot down. Time passes and without water, the gang is at its end. That's when Kakyoin, Polnareff, and Jotaro start laughing like crazy. Joseph thinks they've lost their minds, but they're laughing because they figured it out.
I have my sanity, but what can I do? Hey, Jotaro!
The stand user was using a mirror to trick them the entire time. Jotaro hurls a rock at the mirror, crushing the user's head and destroying the sun. And it's nighttime again. Phew, that was a close one. The next episode starts with Kakyoin having a nightmare. He's stuck on a Ferris wheel with a dog in an amusement park and has no idea why. Suddenly, the tarot card of death floats to him, and the Grim Reaper on the card pops out and slices the dog's head with his scythe. He's about to attack Kakyoin too, but Polnareff wakes him up. Kakyoin screams, but he can't remember the dream, and that's not the only weird thing, his hand is bleeding. Now that's terrifying. As the Crusaders head out, Kakyoin sees something terrifying, a dead dog lying outside. It's the same one from his dream, but he wouldn't know that since he can't remember anything. Anyway, the Crusaders then get to the plane that they're gonna buy and head out with one caveat. There's a sick baby in town, and there's only one plane. So in order to take that plane, they have to agree agree to get that baby to a doctor. So they bring the baby on board and take off, with Joseph flying. That's when Polnareff and Kakyoin doze off and end up in the same Ferris wheel Kakyoin was in. Kakyoin is terrified, but Polnareff is just chilling until the stand bursts out of the dead dog's body. Its name is Death 13, and it's here to end them. Death 13 has Polnareff on the ropes, and the fact that both of them can't call their stands out means they're helpless. Polnareff is done for until Jotaro wakes him up to change the baby's diaper. But even though he's been saved, Polnareff can't remember the dream, so instead of waking Kakyoin up, he just starts changing the baby's diaper.
Jotaro, I need you to hold onto the edge there. I'm gonna try and pin it.
Okay.
Good gosh. Back in the dream, Death 13 starts torturing Kakyoin and reveals that its stand user is the baby. Again, good gosh. Now horrified, Kakyoin starts kicking and screaming in real life. He kicks Joseph, which makes the plane start spiraling down. Joseph manages to make the plane stable, only to crash it straight into a palm tree, waking up Kakyoin in the process. FYI, that's another plane Joseph has crashed now. Later that night, as the Crusaders set up camp, Kakyoin can't remember his dream and thinks he might be going insane, until he looks at his arm. While in the dream, Kakyoin used his knife to carve the words "baby stand" onto his arm. Seeing that, he goes and checks the baby, but it looks normal. Jotaro and the others start thinking he's actually losing it, while the baby secretly smiles. When did JoJo become a horror show? The next episode opens with Kakyoin still suspecting the baby, but having no proof, until the baby kills a scorpion in front of him. Having seen that, Kakyoin is sure the baby's a monster and tries proving it, but he can't, because the baby has hidden the dead scorpion in his mouth. That's when Kakyoin shows them the message on his arm, and now everyone really thinks Kakyoin has gone cuckoo. He tries to attack the baby with Hierophant Green, but Polnareff knocks him out. And as everyone goes to sleep, they're at the baby's mercy. The Crusaders wake up in Death 13's nightmare and immediately face his horrible powers. Polnareff's hair traps him, Jotaro's chain chokes him, and Joseph's prosthetic hand grows 10 times the size and pins him in place. After that, Death 13 shows up and conjures a star platinum imposter that pummels Jotaro. He explains that the only way to bring a stand in the dream is to fall asleep while your stand is summoned, and since our boys didn't do that, they're screwed. Well, they didn't, but someone did, and that someone is Kakyoin. He had Hierophant Green out when Polnareff knocked him out, which means it's in here in the dream world. He begins ragdolling Death 13, choking him out while the baby feels the effects in the real world. The baby tries a sneak attack with Death 13, but Kakyoin was a step ahead, sneaking inside Death 13 and controlling him from the inside. He makes the baby give up, finally ending his nightmare. Yup, Kakyoin is cool as hell. The next day, everyone wakes up having forgotten the dream, except Kakyoin. He tells the baby that he's sparing him only because he's a baby, but if he messes with them again, Kakyoin's gonna punish him. He then takes some of the baby's poop and mixes it in his food, which Joseph then feeds the baby. I think I'd choose an ass whooping over eating my own doo-doo, but whatever. The episode then ends with a detour on a boat, and they make a detour to an island. There's someone important they have to meet. The next episode kicks off with the Crusaders making it to this mysterious island, where Jotaro immediately feels they're being watched. They catch a glimpse of their stalker and they can't believe their eyes. They chase him down and they're sure of it. It's Muhammad Abdul. Wrong. It's actually his dad, who lives in peace on this secluded island. Polnareff feels guilty about Abdul's death all over again and heads off for some alone time, while Joseph talks to Abdul's dad. While roaming around, Polnareff finds something strange. A lamp. He tries cleaning it off and ends up releasing what's inside, a genie named Cameo who offers to grant him 3 wishes. What? Polnareff thinks it's a stand and attacks, but Cameo blocks his attacks and sends him back, saying he'll grant any wishes Polnareff has. To test it out, Polnareff says to make him rich, and Cameo vanishes. Polnareff thinks the facade is over until he stumbles upon an honest-to-God treasure. Cameo then shows up and asks for his next 2 wishes. After bouncing between having a girlfriend or becoming a mangaka, Polnareff locks in and makes his real wish to bring his sister and Abdul back to life. And what's more, Cameo agrees. This can't be good. Suddenly, Polnareff hears a sound behind him, the sound of a crying woman. He chases it and can't believe his eyes. It's his sister Sherry. But instead of meeting Polnareff, she runs away, and Polnareff chases her around the grass fields, begging her to stop. She eventually does, but tells Polnareff not to come any closer. He'll hate her. Polnareff says that's stupid, and that he'll always love his baby sister. A statement he instantly regrets when Sherry bites a chunk out of his neck. Turns out, Cameo is a stand, and he summoned a demon vampire version of Sherry to torment Polnareff. Polnareff tries wishing Sherry away, but Cameo says he can't do that. Plus, Polnareff already made his third wish, bringing back Abdul. Oh boy.
Make my sister return to her grave so she can rest in peace!
The following episode sees Cameo summon a demon version of Avdol too. It smacks Polnareff before he and Sherry start taking chomps out of Polnareff's body. He tries fighting back with Silver Chariot, but Cameo stops the stand. With no other choice, Polnareff gives up and accepts his death. Dying to his sister and Avdol isn't so bad. That's when he sees something that looks like two Avdols. He thinks he's hallucinating, but he's not, because that's when Magician's Red pops out and flames the fake Avdol, giving us one of the most iconic reveals in anime history. Muhammad Avdol is alive.
Are you really Muhammad Abdul?
Yes, you have better believe I am!
Turns out, a whole horse's bullet only grazed his forehead, and he survived. Avdol starts fighting Cameo with Magician's Red, but it's not going smooth. He's a tough opponent. Meanwhile, Polnareff faces his demons and destroys the vampire Sherry, finally overcoming his past.
A hunk of dirt!
That's heartbreaking and beautiful at the same time. With that, Avdol and Polnareff face Cameo in a 2v1, but they didn't have to, because Avdol himself is enough for this sucker. He was only holding back because he hadn't recovered from his injuries yet. Avdol proceeds to destroy Cameo until it disappears, so they go looking for the stand user. After some searching, they find a stick coming out of the ground, and after confirming someone's using it to breathe, they begin the torture. Dirt, sand, ants, spiders, and a burning match are some of the things Polnareff sends down his breathing tube. And then the two Crusaders top it all off by taking a leak in the pipe, making the stand user burst out begging for mercy. Jeez, JoJo Part 3 is insane with this kind of stuff. After that, Avdol burns his ass to a crisp, and just like that, the battle is over. Polnareff makes it back to the Crusaders, excited to tell them Avdol is alive, only for them to not react at all. Turns out, everyone except Polnareff already knew he was alive. Why? Because Polnareff is a loudmouth, and they couldn't risk him blabbing the truth to an enemy.
How dare you leave me out of the loop? I think that's the coolest thing you've ever done to me!
Plus, Avdol was on a secret mission. He was buying a submarine, and that's how the Crusaders are getting to Egypt. The next episode starts with the Crusaders settling into a submarine, and it's way more luxurious than I'd imagined. While everyone else chills, Joseph calls Suzy Q to talk about Holly. Apparently, her condition keeps getting worse, which means they're running out of time. Still, Joseph makes sure not to tell Suzy Q anything. After all, if she got suspicious, she would visit Japan and see that Holly is sick. Meanwhile, everyone else is more determined to beat Dio now. After some traveling, they finally make it to the coast of Africa and are sipping coffee, until they notice there are 6 cups instead of 5. That 6th cup suddenly attacks Joseph and reveals its true form. It's a stand, of course. It's called the High Priestess, and it chops off Joseph's prosthetic arm and knocks him out cold, before disappearing into the submarine. So this stand can change its appearance to match its surroundings and begins tearing the submarine apart from the inside out. Water starts pouring in and they're running out of oxygen. That's when Suzy Q calls, wanting to talk to Joseph, and Jotaro picks up instead, telling his grandma not to worry. They all then try finding the High Priestess, but she's a master of disguise and gets a sneak attack on Kakyoin. She's about to do the same to Avdol, but Star Platinum catches her and tries crushing her head, only for her to turn into a razor and cut its hand. Silver Chariot can't cut it and Magician's Red can't burn it. Yup, this thing is tough. So the Crusaders escape into the next room, and that's when Joseph says he has a plan. Joseph's plan is simple: grab some scuba diving gear and swim their way to the top so they can fight the stand out in the open. But it's not going to be that easy. They're 400 meters below sea level, and something is waiting for them in the waters. Episode 24 sees the Crusaders put on their scuba diving gear and, after some shenanigans from Polnareff and Kakyoin, they get ready to head out, only to find out that the High Priestess was hiding as Polnareff's mouthpiece. It bites his face before going inside his mouth, but Kakyoin and Joseph manage to pull it out in time. The High Priestess then turns into a spear gun and attacks them, but the Crusaders manage to escape the submarine unharmed. But they're not safe yet. They make their way across the seabed and are finally ready to go up, until they see a giant face in the seabed. Yup, it's the High Priestess. Now that it's closer to its user, it's much bigger and stronger, and it sucks the Crusaders in. The user of the stand says she's gonna kill them, but is sad because Jotaro is her type. So, Jotaro tries flirting with her to buy them time, and the other Crusaders hop in too. This almost works, but the user realizes she's being made a fool.
You bastards didn't mean a single word of that! I'll kill you all!
Jotaro ends up in High Priestess's teeth, and the rest of the Crusaders are helpless as she bites down on Jotaro. Oh no! Not to worry though, cause Jotaro uses Star Platinum to tear his way into High Priestess's teeth, and then he breaks out from them. He then punches the rest of her teeth out, destroying the stand and taking down the user. And just like that, they've finally done it. After 30 days, the Crusaders have finally made it to Egypt. Still, their journey is far from over. Dio is still alive, and he has more terrifying stand users up his sleeve. In Egypt, Jotaro and Joseph check in on Suzy Q, who wishes them good luck. With their friends in tow, the Joestars are ready to do whatever it takes to put an end to Dio and save Holly. The battles of Egypt are about to begin, baby. Episode 25 sees the Crusaders head out to see the Speedwagon Foundation and meet the newest and final addition to their team. His name is Iggy. His stand is called the Fool, and he's a dog. A dog that immediately starts tearing out Polnareff's hair and farts on his face. Yup, I already like him. Polnareff tries attacking him with Silver Chariot, but Iggy uses the Fool, a sand-based stand, to put Chariot and Polnareff on their asses. This mutt's got some fight in him. The Speedwagon members then give them supplies, including a new prosthetic arm for Joseph and a camera with which Joseph takes the iconic picture of all the Crusaders together. He then asks the men about Holly, and which they give it to him straight. She's got 2 weeks left at best. What's more, their spy reported 9 more stand users being employed by Dio. Yeah, they need to find him ASAP.
He's far too conceited for something like that. He'll do everything within his power to keep us out of Cairo.
Speaking of stand users, we catch a glimpse of a blind man named Abdul, and it looks like he's their next opponent. Meanwhile, the Crusaders start their journey again, until they find the Speedwagon helicopter that Iggy came on crashed in the desert. They see that one of the pilots is dead, but his death is really strange, and that's because he drowned in the middle of the desert. Joseph tries giving the other pilot a water bottle, and the enemy stand jumps out of it and rips the pilot's face off. The Crusaders try hiding, but Polnareff and Kakyoin get into an argument which makes the stand attack Kakyoin's face. It's about to get Polnareff too, until the Speedwagon pilot's watch goes off. The stand immediately changes course and attacks the watch instead. Phew, that was close. That's when the Crusaders realize that the stand can't actually see them. It's attacking what it hears. Makes sense, with the user being blind and all. Polnareff carries Kakyoin and barely makes it back to the car. Abdul then attacks the car and everyone gets stuck except Iggy. He sensed the attack coming and just hopped off, leaving the Crusaders inches from death. Okay, maybe I don't love him. The next episode sees the Crusaders survive Abdul's attack, and Abdul uses Abdul's hearing to set a trap for his stand. Abdul almost falls for it, but realizes it's a trap at the last second, and counterattacks Abdul, taking him out. For now, Jotaro starts running to draw Abdul's attention, and he grabs Iggy. Jotaro is a pretty straightforward guy. He tells Iggy to help him find the stand user or he'll kill him. Iggy tries getting away, but there's no escaping Star Platinum. Now using Iggy, Jotaro is floating towards Abdul, which means the rascal can't hear him, until they start losing altitude. Jotaro has to use Star Platinum to kick the ground and send them back into the sky. Unfortunately, this leads to Abdul discovering his location, and he attacks Jotaro and Iggy out of of the sky. Abdul is about to land the finishing blow on Jotaro when he throws a curveball, and when I say a curveball, I mean he literally picks up Iggy and throws him at Abdul like a curveball. Iggy and Abdul have to use their stance to defend themselves, and the interaction means Abdul loses track of Jotaro, who's standing right behind him. They have a Mexican stand off, and Jotaro wins. He's about to ask some questions, but Abdul mortally wounds himself before that, saying he won't give up any info about Dio. He confirms they're gonna face 8 more stand users, and then he bites the dust.
Dio was the first person who was able to look deep within my soul and find something more. He was the one who gave me a desire to live.
After burying Abdul, Jotaro sees that Iggy is really mad at him, and rightfully so. Jotaro apologizes and Iggy brings him his hat. It looks like a friendship until Jotaro finds his hat filled with chewed bubblegum. I suppose that's friendship too. The other Crusaders catch up and they keep moving on to Cairo. We then get a special glimpse of the next stand users that we're gonna face. They're called Oingo and Boingo. We don't know much about them except that Boingo's stand is a comic book that can perfectly predict the future, including someone's death. The next episode sees us learning Oingo's power as well, changing his face into anyone he wants. They go through Boingo's comic book and see that it's predicting some stuff. According to the book, Joseph, Jotaro, and Polnareff will drink poisoned black tea at a cafe. So, Oingo and Boingo sneak in before them, get rid of the owner, and prepare to poison their drinks. Meanwhile, having admitted Abdul and Kakyoin to a hospital after what happened in the last episode, the 3 Crusaders are on high alert. After some back and forth, they end up ordering black tea that the Oingo Boingo brothers have poisoned and sip on it, only to spit it out when Iggy suddenly causes a ruckus in the cafe. Our boys then chase after him and the brothers are left frustrated. Still, they're determined to get them and look at Boingo's comic for the next prediction, which shows Jotaro's face being blown in half by an orange.
And a face like that deserves a knuckle sandwich!
Even though he was a perfectly nice man.
They immediately head for the Crusaders' car, and Oingo plants an orange bomb inside. The plan is going smoothly until he gets caught by Joseph and Polnareff and has to change his appearance to Jotaro. Unfortunately for him, they shove him in the car with them and drag him off to see Kakyoin and Abdul, which means the Jotaro that blows up in the comic could be Oingo. Oingo tries everything, throwing the orange bomb out of the car, swallowing cigarettes to pretend he's Jotaro, indulging Polnareff's insane superstitions.
Jotaro, I couldn't help but notice the way you're clasping your hands. Aha! Are you aware you've got your left thumb on top of the others?
But no matter what he does, he can't escape the car. He can't get rid of the orange bomb, and he can't change his appearance. It looks like the comic book was talking about him after all. With no other choice, Oingo says he has a stomachache and tells them to go ahead without him, making a run from the car. He thinks he's home free until Polnareff throws the orange bomb out of the car and he steps on it. Since he hasn't changed his face yet, the bomb blows up in his face, taking him out. Those were some pretty athletic villains, not gonna lie. Episode 28 opens with Abdul having recovered from his injuries, while Kakyoin's eyes are still recovering. Kakyoin has to stay back, but he says he'll catch up with the others once he's recovered. Meanwhile, a farmer named Chaka and his family find a mysterious sword lying on the ground. After his family can't unsheath it, Chaka holds it and becomes possessed. Turns out the sword is a stand named Anubis. It turns Chaka into a master swordsman, making him kill his family and sends him out after the Stardust Crusaders. Oh boy. Later, Iggy steals some gum from Polnareff and he chases the mutt into a crowd. There, Polnareff's followed and confronted by Chaka, who says he's here to kill him. So he brings out Silver Chariot and they begin fighting. But something's off. Chaka moves like an amateur, but his sword doesn't. He manages to cut Polnareff's chest and sends a pillar flying on top of him, hoping to crush the Frenchman. That's when Polnareff pulls out his secret move, sending Chariot's blade flying as a projectile. It stabs Chaka in the neck, taking him out and ending the battle. With Chaka down, Polnareff, unaware that the sword is the stand, tries unsheathing Anubis and almost gets taken over until Iggy and the others show up and snap him back to reality. They leave and he decides to bring the sword with him, something he's going to regret very, very soon. The next day, with Iggy continuously barking at the sword, Polnareff and Jotaro decide to hand it over to the police. Before that though, they make a quick stop at a barber on their way where Polnareff is getting a haircut and a shave, until the shop owner becomes possessed by Anubis and is pointing the sword directly at Polnareff's throat. Told you he'd regret that. The following episode opens with Polnareff dodging Anubis' attack and figuring out that the sword is the stand. But Anubis is unfazed. He overpowers Silver Chariot, saying he's remembered all of its patterns and moves. He begins laying the smackdown on Polnareff and evades all his moves, even the secret move that took him out last time. That's when Jotaro steps in with Star Platinum and smacks him away. Anubis tries attacking Jotaro, but Star Platinum just catches the blade and breaks it in half, taking the user out. Polnareff and Jotaro decide to chuck the sword in the Nile River so no one can get their hands on it again, until a police officer shows up and starts pulling the sword from Polnareff. In the struggle, Polnareff accidentally unsheathes the sword and becomes possessed by Anubis. He starts fighting Jotaro and Polnareff has him overwhelmed. Jotaro realizes he'll have to use all of his strength to even have a chance of surviving, and that's when Anubis pulls out his trump card, Silver Chariot dual-wielding his own sword and Anubis. Now that's badass. The fight begins and Jotaro is having a rough time keeping up with Chariot's speed. He eventually gets stabbed in the hand, leaving his chest open for Anubis to pierce him. Anubis starts celebrating, thinking he's won, but you never celebrate while Jotaro Kujo is still breathing, because he uses Anubis being stuck in him to his advantage and begins punching the sword to pieces. By the time Anubis figures it out, Jotaro has already destroyed the sword, beating Anubis and setting Polnareff free. One small problem though, one half of Anubis is still there, and a kid happens to pick it up. He's about to attack Jotaro from behind until Iggy bumps into the kid. The kid accidentally chucks Anubis all the way onto a ship where it stabs a cow. The cow starts moving around violently and Anubis falls again, this time straight to the bottom of the Nile River. Looks like it won't be possessing anyone else anytime soon. Episode 30 opens with some good news. The Speedwagon Foundation is taking over Kakyoin's treatment. He'll be getting patched up much sooner than expected. Meanwhile, after deciding not to use the rather creative bathroom out in the desert, Joseph sees something strange, an electrical outlet on a rock. Curious, he touches it and gets electrocuted by it. Since it wasn't too bad, he just gets up and heads out. What he doesn't know is that outlet was a stand called Bastet, controlled by a lady named Maria. Its ability? Turn anyone who touches it into a living magnet. This is gonna be bad, isn't it? It starts with a random dude's hammer flying at Joseph's head, which Abdul catches and saves him from.
What the hell?
The next day, he wakes up to the chairs and doors in the room randomly hitting him. The worst part is when his magnetism causes some perverted misunderstandings with a girl and an old lady.
Appreciate your forwardness.
Oh my god!
Yikes. That's when a bunch of knives and forks start flying at Joseph, and he figures out that he's become a magnet while he runs from them. Joseph then manages to escape to the escalator where he gets tied down by Maria, who tells him to kiss his life goodbye. She's a total babe too, so I can't even hate her. Joseph tries to get out, but he's stuck. Thinking he's gonna get crushed by the escalator, he starts screaming in horror, even after Abdul has turned the machine off. Awkward. He explains the situation to Abdul, and the two of them start chasing Maria. They end up in the woman's bathroom, and instead of finding Maria, they get caught by some women who call them perverts as they jump out of the window. They then see Maria and start chasing her, but there's one problem. Abdul touched the electrical outlet while he was shutting the escalator off, and he's turned into a magnet too. Abdul and Joseph start getting closer to each other until they're completely attached and fall down. Maria just looks at them and laughs. Yup, they're in big trouble. The next episode picks up right there, with Abdul and Joseph trying to separate from each other. They make their way over to a fence, and Joseph tells Abdul to slide off him. Since they're stuck at the top, if Abdul makes it to his feet, the magnetic pull should reverse and push them away from each other. So, Abdul begins sliding down, only to end up in a rather embarrassing position. They manage to break apart for a moment, only to end up in an even more embarrassing position.
Oh no, it's that old hag again!
You filthy cheater!
For the love of God, hurry, Abdul!
After some shenanigans, they manage to break apart by putting their opposing poles against each other and roll down a hill, falling right in front of Maria. Unfortunately though, this is another one of her traps, because they're standing on a railroad and their magnetism means they get stuck to it. What's more, a train is headed straight at them. Abdul's quick thinking manages to save them, but after sending some nuts and bolts flying at them, Maria runs away. But this time, Joseph has a plan. He and Abdul are gonna split up and corner her, which will finally give them a shot at taking her down. They start chasing her, but with the magnetism growing stronger by the second, random stuff from the city starts attaching to both Abdul and Joseph. By the time they surround her, Joseph has food cans, engagement rings, and a whole ass bicycle attached to him. That's when Maria cuts the electrical wires above them and they immediately go flying at Joseph and Abdul. Remember kids, power lines are magnetic. While Magician's Red can protect Abdul, Joseph is barely hanging on for dear life. That is, until the Crusaders use Maria's magnetism against her. They both hop forward and are pulled together by the magnetism. This sucks for Maria as she's standing right in the middle of them. She gets crushed, which gets rid of the magnetism, and the two Crusaders head out for some well-earned breakfast. Meanwhile, Polnareff and Jotaro have their own problems, because the next stand user is coming after them. This episode sees Polnareff and Jotaro being tailed by a stand user named Alessi, who controls the stand Set. His power is pretty interesting. If his stand touches your shadow, you turn into a child. Unsurprisingly, Polnareff's clumsy ass gets separated from Jotaro and turns into a child.
Is this really me? I've been turned into a kid!
Polnareff sees Jotaro and tries telling him what's happening, but he can't remember his name. Since he's turned into a child now, his memories are reverting to when he was a kid too. So Jotaro walks off and Polnareff gets caught by Alessi. Alessi tries shooting baby Polnareff to take him out, but baby Silver Chariot manages to get a hit on Alessi, buying time to escape. That's when a nice lady walking by sees baby Polnareff's wound and takes him home, saying she'll patch him up. But while that lady gives baby Polnareff a bath that he's really enjoying, Alessi manages to swap places with her while she's shampooing Polnareff's hair, and Set swings an axe at him. Seriously though, who attacks a naked baby? The next episode opens with Baby Chariot blocking Set's axe, but it's useless. Alessi grabs a hold of Polnareff and starts drowning him in the bathtub. Then Baby Polnareff manages to escape by throwing his shit at Alessi's face. Just roll with it.
How foul! You took a shit in the bathtub!
That's when he realizes what happened to the nice lady. Set touched her shadow way longer than it touched Polnareff's, so she's been turned back into a fetus. Holy crap, that's dark. Polnareff grabs the fetus lady and makes a run for it, but Alessi is chasing him. What's more, his stand Set touches Polnareff's shadow a couple more times, turning him into a 3-year-old. Polnareff manages to lock himself inside a room, but Alessi knows he has no chance of escaping. So Alessi chops down the door with his axe, only to find the room completely empty. Alessi destroys everything trying to find Polnareff, but it looks like he's escaped, until baby Polnareff jumps out of the fish tank and slices his face open. He used a mirror and a ball to hide, and now Alessi's face looks like a Nightmare on Elm Street. Alessi makes a run for it and jumps out of the window, only to land in front of Jotaro. Polnareff tries asking for his help, but he can't remember his name, and the distraction is enough for Set to touch Jotaro's shadow and turn him into a 7-year-old. Alessi thinks he's won, but kid Jotaro just starts beating his face in with his bare fists. That's some god-tier plot armor right there. Now, back as adults, Polnareff and Jotaro give Alessi a quick beatdown, sending him flying. Since he's cooked, the nice lady turns back into an adult again. She runs outside and recognizes Polnareff as the kid she was taking care of. She's about to say something, but Polnareff just says he doesn't know her and walks away. Jotaro, meanwhile, just puts his hand on Polnareff's shoulder and smiles, appreciating his friend's sacrifice. Damn. The episode then ends with Joseph using Hermit Purple to get a picture of Dio's hideout, and it works. They finally know where to go. JoJo's Part 3 is absolutely goated. Some people consider it as the best part of JoJo, so when I tell you the following 2 episodes are some of the best in all of JoJo, you better believe me. The episode opens with the Crusaders making it to Cairo, and they start their search for Dio's hideout. But Cairo is a big city, and they can't find anyone who recognizes the building. They're about to head out when a man says he knows the building, but he won't give the information for free. He doesn't want money either. He's a gambler, so he wants to gamble on it. He throws 2 pieces of beef in front of a cat and bets with Polnareff on which one the cat will eat. If Polnareff wins, he'll tell them where the building is, and if he wins, he gets Polnareff's soul? Excuse me?
What would you say to giving me your soul? That should do just fine. Huh?
Turns out, the guy is a stand user named Darby, and his whole gimmick is beating people at gambling so that his stand, Osiris, can steal their souls. So anyway, Polnareff loses the gamble, and then Darby proceeds to steal his soul, turning it into a poker chip. Yikes. The Crusaders want to beat him up, but it's useless. If Darby dies, Polnareff's soul will go with him. So, with no other choice, Joseph fills a cup with beer and puts a bunch of coins next to it. Joseph and Darby are gonna take turns putting coins into a cup. If Darby spills the beer, Polnareff's soul gets freed. But if Joseph loses, his soul is done for. Talk about high rolling, am I right? Man, I love this episode. Anyway, Darby checks the coins and glass and agrees to the game. He takes the first turn and puts 5 coins in at once, cranking the pressure up on Joseph. But Joseph has a trick up his sleeve. He hides a piece of cotton filled with beer and squeezes it onto the glass as he puts a coin in. Now the glass is full of beer. Darby has no chance of winning, or at least that's what Joseph thinks, because Darby manages to fit a coin in no problem, and Joseph cannot believe it. Joseph tries putting another coin in, but in his heart he knows he's already lost. That means Osiris jumps in and takes his soul too. Darby is now 2-0 against the Crusaders. He managed to cheat in that round by manipulating the glass with a piece of chocolate, but since they didn't catch him, it doesn't matter. So Jotaro decides he'll go next. His game of choice? Poker, something Darby is an expert at. Abdul tries talking him out of it, but Jotaro isn't budging. He's getting Polnareff and Joseph's soul back.
All right. Darby, get your cards, because we're playing my game. Hope you're ready for some poker.
The next episode opens with Jotaro showing off Star Platinum's eyesight by guessing the correct order of cards after he shuffles, before warning Darby to not cheat. They start playing poker and Darby tries to cheat, so Star Platinum breaks his fingers. Ouch. Jotaro decides Darby can't be trusted and tells Abdul to get a nearby kid to do the dealing. Darby then turns Polnareff and Joseph's soul into 6 chips each, and gives Jotaro 6 chips for his own soul to bet with. And with that, the game is on. In the first hand, Jotaro bets 3 of his 6 chips and ends up losing, meaning he's cooked if he loses the next round. What's more, Darby raises him, meaning he has to bet Abdul's soul, but Abdul trusts him, and he gives Jotaro the go-ahead to bet his soul. What they don't know is that the supposedly random kid dealing is actually working for Darby. He gives Jotaro a bust hand. It's all over. Darby then raises so much that Jotaro has to bet Kakyoin's soul too. But not only does Jotaro do it, he does it without even looking at his cards. Darby can't believe what he's seeing. How the hell could Jotaro be so confident?
So now I know he's bluffing. You're kidding me! You got a drink too? When did you have a chance to?
But Jotaro isn't done there. He raises Darby his mom's soul too, and says that in exchange, Darby has to bet the secret of Dio's stand. Darby literally falls out of his chair. He can't believe the balls on this kid. Now that's how you gamble. Darby knows Jotaro doesn't have good cards, and he has 4 kings himself, but the sheer confidence Jotaro's showing breaks him. He tries to call, but gets so nervous he passes out. Him passing out means Polnareff and Joseph's soul go back to them, bringing them back to life. The souls of everyone else he cheated also get released, but Darby himself is mentally finished. He can't tell them Dio's location. Still, they made it out alive, and that's what matters. Talk about intense. The following episode kicks off with Whole Horse reporting Maria and Alessi's defeat to Dio, which leads to Dio asking Whole Horse when he's going to do something about it. Whole Horse is pretty sick and tired of listening to Dio's order, and he knows he can't beat the Stardust Crusaders. So he pulls out the Emperor and points it at Dio's head, except Dio suddenly appears behind him and tells Whole Horse to use that energy to take out his enemies, leaving Whole Horse shaking in fear. Just what the hell is Dio's stand? After that, we see a Whole Horse coming out of Cairo's airport with a briefcase. What's inside the briefcase, you ask? None other than Boingo, the younger half of the Oingo Boingo brothers. Yeah, Whole Horse kidnapped him so both he and Boingo could get revenge for Oingo by beating the Crusaders. But Whole Horse isn't fully convinced about Boingo's predictions, and when the book says a woman is gonna reward him for kicking her, he believes it even less. But then, a lady walks by and Whole Horse kicks her, and his kick kills a deadly bug that was on her, and because of that, she rewards him with her diamond necklace, and Whole Horse is convinced. Boingo's manga is mint. Meanwhile, the Crusaders are trying to find clues on Dio's hideout when Joseph calls to check in on Holly. It's bad. She only has 3 to 4 days left. While they're discussing their next move, Whole Horse and Boingo are watching them from around the corner, and Whole Horse is having a hard time believing the manga's prediction. Apparently, if he sticks his fingers up Polnareff's nose, they'll When Boingo tells him to trust the prediction, the Ringo Oingo blew up is because he failed to trust the manga. But it's too late now because Polnareff has already found them and Silver Chariot has its sword on Whole Horse's neck. Whole Horse tries shooting with the Emperor but Polnareff bodies him. Now completely cornered and with the other Crusaders about to show up, Whole Horse has no choice but to trust the manga. So when Polnareff is distracted by Boingo, Whole Horse sticks his fingers up Polnareff's nose and nothing happens. Awkward. The Crusaders turn a corner and spot Polnareff looking fine, but not really. Whole Horse is hiding behind him, the Emperor aimed at his head. He tells Polnareff to make them leave, but Polnareff suddenly uses his tongue to signal danger.
Look where my tongue is pointing! Behind me, damn it!
With his plan exposed, Whole Horse tries to shoot, except his fingers were in Polnareff's nose. So Polnareff sneezes, blowing Whole Horse's cover. Silver Chariot then knocks him flying into some oil drums. It looks over for the gunslinger until a car skids on the oil and crashes straight into the Crusaders. Boingo's manga was right again. Everyone but Jotaro is out cold now, and Whole Horse is ready to finish them off. So he and Boingo take cover and look at the next prediction. It's simple. Whole Horse pays some guys to open a pipe, shoots all his bullets into the pipe at exactly 12 p.m. and the bullets go and hit Jotaro, finishing him off. One problem with that, 12 p.m. is in 2 minutes. After an argument with the man, almost making him miss the deadline, he finally gets the guys to open the pipe by bribing them. As soon as his watch hits 12, Whole Horse shoots all his bullets into the pipe. Meanwhile, Jotaro heads over to help Polnareff and is sitting right in front of where the bullets will come out. He's about to get shot in the head until Polnareff sneezes, which makes Jotaro pull his head back, and the bullets miss him.
There's no way in hell it's just now noon! My watch is fast!
Whole Horse panics and checks the manga, only to see the bullets loop around and nail him in the face. He ends up in the hospital and Boingo, giving up on revenge, accidentally bumps into Iggy, who launches him into the sky with his stand attack and sends him to the hospital too. Guess even the future can't predict what a wild mutt is gonna do. The following episode kicks off with Polnareff getting into a bit of an argument with a beggar, but it cools down when the beggar recognizes Abdul. Abdul asks the beggar about Dio's hideout, and he removes the beggar's clothes to reveal a snazzy suit, saying he'll find the place in 3 hours. Damn. Meanwhile, Iggy is wandering around and accidentally stumbles upon Dio's mansion. That's when we see the beggar the Crusaders were talking to. He's found the mansion and is about to go back and report it to them, until a bird kills him with a massive piece of ice. This bird is called Pet Shop, and its stand is called Horus, which has the power to make and control ice projectiles. Iggy decides he wants nothing to do with Dio or the Crusaders and plays dumb to distract Pet Shop. He's about to escape until a little kid comes by looking for his dogs. Turns out Pet Shop killed his dogs and is now feasting on them. Well, that's horrifying. The kid screams in horror and Pet Shop swoops in to kill him too, but Iggy saves the kid. With no other choice, Iggy brings the fool out and gets ready to fight Pet Shop, but when Pet Shop freezes him in place and lodges an attack, all Iggy can do is make a tactical retreat. While the Crusaders are waiting for info on the mansion, Iggy is running through the streets of Cairo, desperately trying to shake off Pet Shop. With no other choice, Iggy has to escape into a manhole below him and falls right on his face. Ouch. But falling on his face is the last of his worries, because Pet Shop has followed him inside the manhole. It tears Iggy's head off and smirks in victory. That smirk is short-lived, however, because the Iggy he attacked was just a sand clone. The real Iggy jumps out from behind him and slices Pet Shop's chest, making him fall onto the ground. Yup, with a move like that, Iggy must be a Naruto fan. Did you catch our Naruto video, by the way? Well, if not, then please do after you're done with this one. Anyway, Pet Shop's not done. Far from it, in fact. He finally brings out his stand, Horus, and proceeds to freeze all the exits. Iggy tries to make a run for it, but Pet Shop hunts him down and freezes Iggy in place. The episode then ends with him launching a bunch of ice spikes at Iggy. That can't be good. Episode 39 kicks off and the Crusaders are still waiting on the beggar to get them info on Dio's whereabouts. Meanwhile, Iggy is hiding at the bottom of a pond. He managed to escape Pet Shop, but it cost him his leg. But Pet Shop is relentless and he finds Iggy. He launches some ice spikes at Iggy, but the mutt manages to send one of them right back at it, hurting its wing. So Pet Shop tries a different approach. It starts freezing Iggy's hiding place, crushing him inside. Iggy starts digging to get away from it, only to see a pair of murderous eyes staring back at him. Yup, it's Pet Shop. Pet Shop then starts charging an ice missile right at Iggy, who has nowhere to go now. So he does the only thing he can. He jumps right at the bird, biting his beak, which makes the ice missile explode inside himself, finishing him off for good. Still, Iggy may have won, but he lost a lot of blood and he can't swim to shore. As he drowns, he thinks about his life and accepts his fate.
Damn it! I messed up.
Luckily for him though, the kid from earlier sees him drowning and saves him. Looks like the Stardust Mutt lives to see another day. The next day, the Crusaders are making their way through Cairo when they suddenly find Iggy. He's in bad shape, but someone already treated his wounds, and there's a familiar red-haired looking guy with him. It's Kakyoin. His eyes are fully healed and he's back with the Crusaders. After a wholesome catch-up, Iggy leads the Stardust Crusaders to the place they've been looking for all along. They finally made it to Dio's hideout. Goosebumps. They make their way inside the ominous mansion and try to figure out what to do next when they see something floating towards them. That something turns out to be a guy who says he's the butler of this mansion, and he looks an awful lot like Darby. What the hell is going on? Episode 40 begins, and turns out this guy is Darby's younger brother, and he's guarding the mansion. Jotaro tries attacking him, but Darby predicts his attack before dragging him into a portal. Kakyoin and Joseph follow, telling Abdul to burn the mansion if they're not back in 10 minutes. They then end up on a beach of some sorts, but it's just an illusion created by another stand. Darby says they have to defeat him to leave this place and get to Dio, so the three Crusaders get ready to beat the snot out of him. Before they can do that, Darby shows them his collection. Much like his older brother, he collects people's souls, but instead of turning them into poker chips, he turns them into dolls. Yup, that's even more messed up.
You're just as messed up in the head as your brother. Actually, you're more sadistic than your brother ever was.
The Crusaders are sick of him, but Darby has them cornered, because when he predicted Jotaro's punch earlier, he left his stand Autumn's hand on Jotaro's arm, and it could crush it at any moment. So he forces them to do what he wants, and what he wants is for them to bet their souls over a video game.
Let's play a game with our souls as collateral. If you defeat me, I solemnly swear to release Jotaro's arm.
He says Kakyoin is up first, so Kakyoin picks a racing game he's familiar with and bets his soul. Now that's a high-stakes race. They pick their cars, and just like that, the race begins. Darby uses a gamer strat to get a boost, giving him a head start, but Kakyoin uses Hierophant Green to make his car spin like a damn Beyblade, hitting Darby's car. They both start again, and they're completely neck and neck. Kakyoin even makes a turn at 360 kilometers an hour. This guy is insanely good at this game. As the race keeps going, they're about to enter a tunnel that can only fit one player at a time. With Darby having a slight lead, Kakyoin pulls out all the stops and flips his car, making it stick to the walls of the tunnel. They have to navigate the tunnel blindly, but both Darby and Kakyoin are experts, and they make it out. One small problem, Darby has the lead, and it doesn't seem like Kakyoin has a chance of winning. The next episode continues right there with Darby in the lead, but that's when Kakyoin pulls out the spin move again and knocks Darby off the tracks. The Crusaders are happy, but that's exactly what Darby wanted. Turns out, Kakyoin knocking him off the track means he lands on the other side of the tracks and skips about half the race.
You wouldn't make it by jumping over the curb. All I needed was your help.
Seeing this, Kakyoin knows inside that he lost, and Autumn collects his soul, putting it into a Kakyoin-shaped doll. Just like the other Darby, killing him would mean Kakyoin's soul would be lost too, so Joseph and Jotaro have no choice. They have to play his game. Jotaro steps up next and he picks baseball. Darby creates custom characters that look like their stands and the game begins. One problem with that, Jotaro has never played a video game before and has no idea what he's doing. His first batter gets struck out and Joseph starts tweaking, saying Jotaro is insane. But Jotaro just tells the old man to have some faith in him and keeps playing the game. But the result is the same. He keeps getting struck out and keeps losing batters. This keeps happening for exactly 8 swings, after which Jotaro hits Darby with the "I understand it now" and starts pummeling him with home runs.
Go right ahead. I've pretty much gotten the hang of batting with the controller.
Wait.
Thanks to Star Platinum's razor-sharp eyes and reflexes, he's mastered batting and is whooping Darby's ass. With the score now 4-0, Joseph gives Darby a chance to give up, but Darby says he's far from done and does something crazy. He announces the kind of pitch he's gonna make. The mind games end up working and Jotaro gets struck out, meaning it's Darby's turn to bat. Before he starts, Darby says he'll hit a home run. Jotaro tries tricking him by throwing the ball directly at his batter, but Darby moves out of the way and sends it out of the stadium. The tables are suddenly turned. Darby can seemingly read Jotaro's mind and guess where he's going to pitch. Before every pitch, he asks Jotaro where he's gonna pitch, and then smashes it out of the park. He's obviously using his stand, but the JoJo's can't figure out how. After getting pelted for a bit, Jotaro takes his hat off and announces his next pitch. What the hell is he thinking? The next episode starts with us figuring out how Darby's stand Autumn works. Basically, if he asks someone a yes or no question, he can see their answer with 100% certainty, and that's how he's been beating Jotaro. But that's about to change right now, because even though Jotaro announces his pitch and Darby sees he's telling the truth, the pitch is different. He gets Darby out once, and then 2 more times, even though Darby was certain JoJo was telling the truth each time. After this, Darby loses his cool and starts hyperventilating. He then asks Jotaro how the hell is he doing this.
Shut your mouth! Come on, tell me why you removed your stupid hat!
Unfortunately, his stand can only answer yes or no questions, so he comes to the conclusion that Jotaro is cheating. But after he can't find any evidence of that, Darby can't keep going anymore. He loses all confidence and admits defeat in his heart, which makes Kakyoin's soul break free. With Kakyoin's soul back, there's only one thing left to do: beat Darby's ass.
Are you gonna do the Ora thing?
Yes, 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 yes! Yes!
And Jotaro obliges, ora, him through the sky, which reveals an exit from the illusion they're in. Next stop, Dio. But it's not going to be that easy, because Dio has one final stand user up his sleeve. His name is Vanilla Ice, and he's super loyal to Dio. So much so that when Dio asks him to kill himself so he can have his blood, Vanilla Ice doesn't even hesitate and has his stand Cream chop his head off. Still, Dio gives him his own blood, bringing him back to life and turning him into a vampire. He tells Vanilla Ice to hunt down the Crusaders, so Cream eats up Vanilla Ice before eating up itself and bursting through a wall.
Now go and attend to our unwanted guests.
I swear, Lord Dio, I will not let you down.
What the hell kind of power is that? Meanwhile, Abdul, Iggy, and Polnareff decide they've waited long enough and head inside the mansion. As they do that, Iggy sniffs out a hiding enemy and takes him out with the Fool. Things are going smoothly. That is, until Abdul reads a message on a pillar saying he'll die as soon as he turns around. So he turns and sees Cream charging straight at them. He then pushes Iggy and Polnareff out of the way, but well, he himself gets devoured by Cream, leaving only his hands. You see, that's what Cream's power is. Its mouth leads to an endless void, and any enemy he eats is removed from this dimension forever. Polnareff refuses to believe it, but it's the truth. Abdul is dead, for real this time, and Vanilla Ice is coming for him and Iggy next.
No, you're lying. There's no way you killed Abdul. How dare you lie to me!
The next episode opens with Polnareff enraged about Abdul's death, and he sends Chariot to attack Vanilla Ice. He manages to get a hit in too, but Vanilla Ice disappears back into his dimension and starts attacking Iggy and Polnareff from there. With no other choice, our boys here start running inside the mansion, hoping to make it to Dio. One problem with that, Vanilla Ice is a stubborn little fella. He sneaks up on them and devours part of Polnareff's foot. Iggy and Polnareff keep trying to attack him with their stands, but it's hard to attack an invisible enemy, you know? While Joseph, Jotaro, and Kakyoin hear the commotion and try to find their friends, Iggy and Polnareff are hiding from Vanilla Ice. That's when Dio comes down the stairs asking Vanilla Ice why he's making so much noise. But it's not Dio. It's a sand clone made by Iggy who launches a sneak attack on Vanilla Ice, only for him to counter it at the last second. Vanilla Ice is mad that he had to attack even Dio's image and begins kicking the shit out of Iggy. However, Polnareff then attacks with Chariot, which forces Vanilla Ice to retreat back to the void. That's when Polnareff figures out how to see him. He used Chariot to kick up sand, which covers Vanilla Ice and reveals his location.
Choke on a mouthful of this and get over here, you piece of shit.
As he emerges from the void, Polnareff has Chariot stab him right in the mouth. That has to be it, right? Wrong. Vanilla Ice refuses to die before killing the Crusaders and attacks back, smacking away at Polnareff's arm and injuring his leg. Polnareff has to get away from Vanilla Ice, and because of that, he retreats back to the void. Polnareff then pulls an injured Iggy towards him, but their problems are about to go from bad to worse. Why? Because Vanilla Ice has a new plan. He starts circling around the room while still inside the void and starts getting closer with each circle. With this strategy, Vanilla Ice doesn't have to escape the void to see where Iggy and Polnareff are. He'll eventually end up hitting them. Polnareff manages to dodge out of the way a couple times and gets Iggy to safety, but that's about all he can do. He can't outrun Vanilla Ice forever. An injured Iggy tries bringing his stand out, but it's no use. Polnareff accepts his fate, and the episode ends with one of his earrings falling to the ground. Is this the end for our beloved Frenchman?
Au revoir, Iggy.
The next episode sees the other three Crusaders still looking for Polnareff and Iggy. Meanwhile, Vanilla Ice comes out of his void and he's satisfied to have ended Polnareff. Except he hasn't, because Iggy used the last of his strength to carry Polnareff to the roof with the Fool. Polnareff drops down, stabs Vanilla Ice in the head, and breaks his neck. He then mourns Iggy's death.
His sand, its spirit is gone.
Even though they didn't get along the best, Iggy was a proud warrior that Polnareff ended up liking a lot. As he's mourning, Vanilla Ice's vampire powers mean he heals and gets back up, ready to attack Polnareff from behind. But this time, he's ready for it. Polnareff immediately launches a barrage of attacks at him before breaking open the walls, allowing sunlight to come in. With one little push from Silver Chariot, Vanilla Ice falls into the sunlight and turns to dust. Good gosh, that was intense. With the fight finally over, Polnareff sees something beautiful. Iggy and Abdul's souls leaving the world and giving him the thumbs up to keep moving forward and catch Dio. With a single tear, Polnareff's resolve has never been stronger. He's gonna find Dio. Meanwhile, Jotaro, Joseph, and Kakyoin run into a punk vampire named Nukesaku who tries tricking them by disguising himself as a helpless woman. But Jotaro and the others see right through his tricks. Star Platinum beats the snot out of him and they force him to tell them where Dio is. The episode then ends with Polnareff tying up his injuries before facing the man who's been behind everything the Stardust Crusaders have faced up till now. Dio is standing at the top of the stairs.
Greetings, Polnareff. What a pleasant surprise.
Dio.
Here we go. Episode 45 starts with Dio giving Polnareff a choice. Go down the stairs and join him again, or come up the stairs and choose death. Polnareff obviously decides to go up the stairs, but somehow ends up at the bottom of them. Weird. He repeats the process a couple more times, heading up the stairs, but the same thing keeps happening again and again. Polnareff realizes Dio's using his stand, the world, to mess with him. What he doesn't know yet is how. Just what the hell is the world's ability? Dio starts playing mind games with Polnareff.
Return to me, and all I speak of will be yours.
No! Am I seriously letting him draw me back in?
But that's when Joseph, Jotaro, and Kakyoin burst in, ready to kick some immortal ass. Dio retreats while Polnareff explains what happened to him with the stairs and all that. Our boys then ask Nukesaku to take them to Dio's room, where Nukesaku opens the coffin Dio is hiding in. Inside, they find Nukesaku? Realizing Dio is too dangerous to face without figuring out his ability, they retreat, jumping out of Dio's mansion. Polnareff says that he has no intention of hiding from Dio, even though Joseph says their best strategy is to play it safe until they figure out the world's ability. So they agree on a plan. Kakyoin and Joseph will draw Dio away using a truck, while Jotaro and Polnareff will attack Dio from behind. We then see Dio heading out into the city and hijacking a senator's car. After bullying him with his strange stand ability, he makes the senator drive the car in order to chase Kakyoin and Joseph's truck. While Dio is chasing Kakyoin and Joseph, Jotaro and Polnareff hotwire a bike and get ready to follow them. After Dio has his driver run over a bunch of innocent civilians, he's pretty close to Kakyoin and Joseph now. So, Kakyoin attacks with Hierophant Green and Dio doesn't care. He literally flicks his attacks away with one hand without even moving, before having the world punch Hierophant away. Dio then chucks his driver at their truck, making our boys crash. They manage to get away for now, and that's when Kakyoin says he has an idea. He knows how to figure out Dio's power.
I know now how to uncover the secret of Dio's stand.
The next episode starts with Jotaro and Polnareff making it to where Kakyoin and Joseph's truck crashed, while Dio is chasing them across Cairo's rooftops. That's when Kakyoin unleashes a bunch of attacks and traps Dio in Hierophant Green's barrier. Now, whatever Dio and his stand do, Kakyoin will be able to sense. He's gonna figure out Dio's ability here and now. With that, Kakyoin launches another series of attacks and Dio brings out the world, and Kakyoin immediately goes flying into a water tanker. There's a huge hole in his stomach and he's losing blood like crazy. He thinks about his parents as the life starts to drift from him, and that's when it hits him. He figured out Dio's stand, but he can't say anything. So as his dying act, he has Hierophant Green attack a nearby clock, thinking of it as a message to Joseph about Dio's power. And with that, Kakyoin Noriaki is no more. R.I.P. Kakyoin. You were one of the greatest Joe bros ever.
You have to let the others know.
Kakyoin!
Joseph tries attacking Dio with Hamon through Hermit Purple, but Dio's far too powerful for that. So he begins running from the vampire while thinking why Kakyoin would have attacked the clock. What message could he have been giving? And that's when Joseph figures it out. Kakyoin hitting the clock stopped the time from moving. The world's ability is it can stop time. We then see how Dio used this ability to defeat Kakyoin.
You don't even realize you're about to die. In a way, you're lucky. You won't know what happened here, only that you're dying.
And he uses it again to catch up to Joseph. After some back and forth, Dio knocks Joseph off the roof and he falls in front of some civilians. That's when Joseph sees Jotaro. He's finally made it, but Joseph tells him to stay back, saying Dio's ability is to stop time. And at that moment, we see it in action for the first time as Dio uses the world to stop time in its tracks. And in one word, it's iconic. Everything except Dio and his stand stops moving and he makes his way over to Joseph while bullying some civilians. Instead of attacking himself, Dio throws a knife at Joseph's throat. He can stop time for 5 seconds, and when these 5 seconds are up, time resumes and the knife impales Joseph's throat. Joseph then tells Jotaro to run away before passing out. Seeing this, Jotaro is furious and heads over to Dio for the 1v1 we've all been waiting for. With that, the two of them start fighting, but it's clear the world is no pushover. It's giving Star Platinum a tough time. Jotaro realizes they have the same kind of stands, and the episode ends with their stands duking it out. The second to last episode kicks off with Jotaro and Dio's stands going back and forth, but the world manages to get it clean hidden. Dio says he's proven his stand is superior and has no need to prolong this, so he uses the world to stop time again. With Jotaro immobile, Dio is ready to deliver the final blow and end the Joestar bloodline, until Jotaro's fingers twitch. Dio immediately backs off and time resumes. He asks Jotaro if he can actually move through time like him, but Jotaro doesn't give an answer and flies off. Oh yeah, Jotaro can fly now. Why, you ask? Beats me. Ask Araki. Dio chases Jotaro, thinking about how he first discovered his powers.
Right at my back. And for a moment, it looked as though time itself had stood still.
And uses the world to stop time again. This time, he figures out Jotaro's trick. He put a magnet on Dio and had one on his sleeve, which made his hands twitch. With that trick dispelled, there's no reason for Dio to hold back, and he attacks Jotaro with the world. Only for Star Platinum to suddenly punch the world right through the stomach, which means he really can move through time. When Jotaro said they're the same kind of stands, he wasn't lying. Jotaro sends Dio flying into a shop with a hole in his stomach and a cut off leg. But he's a vampire, so he sucks the blood out of a woman and heals right back up. But Jotaro has a problem. Dio can move through time for 5 seconds and he can only do it for an instant. That's when Dio stops time again and uses his 5 seconds to fling knives at him from every angle. Jotaro tries stopping him in stop time and after time resumes, but there are just too many knives. So he gets impaled all over, even in his head, and falls to the ground. Damn! Fortunately for Jotaro, he was prepared for a scenario like this and stuffed his clothes with magazines that stopped the knives. Yup, that really happened. Jotaro's plan is simple. Play dead until Dio comes near him and then use Star Platinum to bash his skull in. Unfortunately for him though, Dio decides he's gonna chop Jotaro's head off with a signpost to make sure he's dead, and Jotaro is cooked. But that's when Polnareff shows up. He stabs Dio through the head, hoping to end him.
The only one dying here is you!
And our boy almost does it. But one time stop later, Polnareff is on his ass and Dio is about to kill him too. So Jotaro moves his finger to distract Dio, and that's when two policemen show up. Dio kills one of them and makes the other one shoot Jotaro to prove he's dead. Jotaro manages to stop the bullet after it enters his clothes, and Dio is pretty convinced he's dead. He just needs one final confirmation. So Dio puts his ear to the ground to listen for Jotaro's heartbeat, and Jotaro has Star Platinum stop his heart to fool Dio. Yeah, Jotaro can do that too. So anyway, it does the job and Dio is convinced. But just to be doubly super duper sure, he heads over to Jotaro to cut his head off anyways. Because Dio ain't no fool, you guys. Still, as soon as he gets into Jotaro's range, Star Platinum jumps out and absolutely smashes Dio's skull in. The damage is brutal.
I have to stop time again! The world!
You're not stopping time or leaving with your skull intact. Got it?
Dio can't even move his legs properly. Jotaro tries lighting Dio on fire to end it, but Dio stops time and tries to escape with a car. Jotaro isn't that easy to shake though, and he hunts Dio down and opens a fresh can of whoop ass on him. Unfortunately, that was what Dio wanted, because Star Platinum's punches send him flying right back to the street where Joseph is passed out. Yikes, I don't like where this is going. So, Dio sucks out all of Joseph's blood, and with Jonathan Joestar's body now completely in sync with him, he finally becomes the perfect being. Okay, that pissed me off. With Jonathan's body finally his own, Dio starts tweaking, scratching his head till blood comes out and laughing in joy. Meanwhile, Jotaro sees Joseph's soul leave his body, telling him to keep his cool before it goes, saying they've had a great trip together.
Jotaro, it's been quite the journey, eh, my boy? An unforgettable adventure.
Dio then sucks what little blood Joseph had, turning him into a corpse, and Jotaro decides to not keep his cool, charging in for the final battle. That proves to be the wrong move though, because although Jotaro can move in time stop for 2 seconds now, this newly buffed Dio can move in time stop for 9 whole seconds now. He uses that time to taunt Jotaro before launching a barrage of punches, sending Jotaro flying. Not giving Jotaro any time to recover, Dio stops time again and vanishes. Jotaro is trying to think of what to do, and that's when one of the most iconic scenes from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure happens. Because the reason Dio was gone was he was getting a freaking road roller to smash Jotaro with.
I'm going to roll all over you!
Jotaro does his best to stop it with Star Platinum, but Dio is too overpowering. With one final punch, the road roller hits the ground, and Jotaro is defeated. Dio starts planning his world takeover when he realizes something shocking. He can't move. Turns out, Jotaro figured out how to stop time himself, and he did just that as Dio's 9 seconds were up. Now in complete control, Jotaro destroys Dio's legs and sends him flying, saying he'll crush the vampire as soon as his legs are regenerated. Dio, being the bitch man that he is, uses the blood from his legs to blind Jotaro and get a cheap shot in. They exchange blows one final time. Star Platinum's punch versus the world's kick. Star Platinum's hand cracks and Dio thinks he's won until the world starts crumbling from the leg up. Dio can't believe it, but before he can react, he and his stand blow up, finally putting an end to the Joestar's worst enemy, Jotaro Kujo, a son, a student, and a certified vampire killing badass. With Dio taken out, Jotaro has one more plan up his sleeve. As the Speedwagon Foundation shows up and carries Dio and Joseph's bodies away, Jotaro wants them to pump Dio's blood into Joseph, hoping it'll save his life. He gets the doctor to do it and uses Star Platinum to pump Joseph's heart. And it works. Joseph comes back to life, and the first thing he does is decide to pretend he's Dio to mess with Jotaro. I love this dude.
Yours truly, bastard! Wait, calm down, Jotaro! It was a joke!
Never change, Joseph Joestar. With that out of the way, the Joestars take Dio's body out into the sun where it crumbles away for good. And as they stand there, they think of all the friends they made and lost along the way, and are thankful for that. And it's enough to make a grown man cry. We then cut to Cairo's airport where Polnareff is getting ready to go to France, while Joseph and Jotaro are heading back to Japan. Joseph offers to take Polnareff with him to New York, but Polnareff says he needs to go back home. After some wholesome reflection on their journey, Polnareff hugs the JoJo's and they hug him back, promising to meet again someday. And we then see Holly wake up, finally cured of her curse. The part ends with Jotaro looking at the one picture of all the Stardust Crusaders and smiling. What a trip that was indeed. indeed. And that was our recap of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Though the pacing was a bit off sometimes, Part 3 introduced us to the concept of stands and gave us some of the most memorable characters and moments in JoJo's history. But what do you think of JoJo's Part 3? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button, because with Part 3 done, there's a little Japanese town called Morio we'll be visiting after this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.